Shush. Welcome to Biggest Geekus. We are your hosts. I am Joe.
And I'm Randy.
This is episode 146 of our show, and the date is Thursday, July 6th, 2023. That was on the fly editing.
Dude, what talent. Look at this. It's not just me. He's got some too.
Because you didn't send me an updated outline, did you?
No, I didn't change the date and send it to you. I was testing it.
Because that's something that you're liable to do.
I am I'm liable to do like 2 minutes before we get on. Hey, I only made some minor changes. I added like 5 articles and 16 websites, so don't worry, it'll be good.
Yeah. You only have an hour to read all this stuff.
Legion's going to be out. Go ahead.
Yeah. So apologize to all you folks out there for a last minute cancellation on our rescheduling on Tuesday. I had the gout, and when I have the gout, I have to put my foot up, and it's no fun. It's been kind of hot and muggy here, and I think I overdid it 1 or 2 days, and I was so exhausted. You can ask my wife, Jenny. I don't do this. I slept a lot.
Yeah.
Those two days. Tuesdays was the 4th.
Yep.
And instead of going anywhere, middle of the day, my gout starts hollering at me. My foot swelled up, and I got my foot up now, and I got a headache. I just feeling old, I guess. But anyway, enough whining. We are here now. Welcome everyone who has made it today. Our attendance probably won't be as good as normal because it's changing day and there's other folks live streaming. But
I hate to interrupt people. We have kind of a pretty cool timing and stuff where everybody kind of can make it. A lot of folks can make ours. I can listen to theirs, and unfortunately it happens. But Malachi would like you to hum the opening of the song. Oh, right. That's right. Tell him, Malachi. He does need some cheese to go with that wine.
Yeah, I was whining a bit.
Joe doesn't.
Gout's no good. I don't normally get sick or call in or anything.
No.
I called in to work.
Right.
Not Tuesday because it was the 4th, but the next day. And I know the day after a holiday at the post office is no fun. So I'm sure I was getting curses from my coworkers.
Yeah, I was gonna pump you up. Joe doesn't normally bow out, or somebody's gonna bail. It's usually me. I can be a little more flighty than Joe. But yeah, it was a shame. I was excited. I really got to learn how to handle the StreamYard, because maybe in the future I'd like to just pop on and we could still do a makeup show if something happens if you miss, but I'll just get on here and talk about random crap. Stuff that
nobody wants to see that.
Stuff that Joe doesn't want me to talk about. I'll just get on here and say, you know what? Here's what I really think.
For a minute, I thought you had changed your underneath your little blurb here underneath your name.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you put tainted one.
That's I should do. I'm doing that. I'm changing that. That sounds good. Edit name and headline. The tainted one.
But thank you, Tunka. I do feel better. I feel like a human now. Those 2 days, I was feeling like crap. So sorry about that.
Looks like Violence Solves Everything on Rumble says he went from not knowing anyone who has gout to within the span of 2 years, now knowing 5. Gout's a dangerous thing. So, did you develop that from all your walking? Is that what
I don't
happens?
know. No. I started getting, actually, it's actually my doctor called it pseudo gout, because while it has some similar, has all the same symptoms and whatnot, my there is a particle in your blood that collects, and the way they determine whether it's gout is they do a blood test and test for this particular particle, that it's under the threshold where they normally diagnose it. So instead of calling it gout, he called it pseudo gout, but he's giving me the gout medicine, but I have a low dose, and I haven't had a gout flare up in a year or two.
It's been a while, yeah.
So it's very seldom.
I didn't even know what it was till you told me. Does it swell on your legs, or what happens? Just hurt?
See, these particles collect in your joints, usually your feet.
Okay.
And then they collect around your joint, and then it hurts, it swells. Sometimes it gets red, and it's some kind of acid. I can't remember which one it is.
No, that's for cramps.
Yes, it's something else.
Which we do that too, both of us. Joe and I, because we're so powerful, our legs are so powerful. He and I cramp, like, LeBron James. I always try to say, great athletes like LeBron and I, we tend to have large muscle cramps when we're playing because we're so powerful. That's what it is. And Joe's a lot like me.
Time.
But we got a bunch of great people helping us out tonight. I didn't think they'd be here, but got a lot of people. Martinson, Tunka Todd, Mercer Core. Happy 4th to everybody, even though it's belated. Patrick Demo's in the house, even though he's been celebrating with his wife. Malachi. And I believe Legion will be back shortly. Point Blank and Flatey, we were chatting with before.
Legion said he had to throw out the trash.
Yeah. I guess he's about to dump somebody he doesn't like. Gary D20, How you doing, bud? Yeah, we got a good group. Somebody else started out. I guess I didn't. Must have been me. So, oh well. Gang's here. So, but
Gang's here.
Does it hurt? Do you have arthritis too? Because I have that from all the sports crap. My knees.
I feel little twinges here and there all over, mostly in the ankles, sometimes in my knees.
Since I got buffed up with those steroid shots, my knees have been better.
But it's only now and again. It's not constant. I'm not in constant pain. Like some people with arthritis pain, it's constant. Me, it's just every now and again.
Yeah.
And I think it has more to do with the barometer. If the barometric pressure fluctuates, then my arthritis kicks in, or if I overdo it. But most of the time I don't feel it.
Point Blank. Referring to Legion by trash, he meant all his 5 ebooks.
Yes.
Joe would agree. So we normally say, did you game last week? We did.
We gamed.
But we're going to talk about that in a whole segment because we got some good stuff to chat about, I think, there.
It's a Hyperborea segment, so hold on to your tootsies.
And if I didn't keep forgetting all my
other random body part.
Yeah, all my silly commitments, we would have gamed again. When was I trying to get us to game? Tuesday? I was trying it July 4th, wasn't I? I was shooting for that.
Right. Most of the days of the week, you tried to get us to game.
But I couldn't. I found out this thing and that thing, and I was like, crap, man.
Yeah. It was like, let's play. We're playing. No, we're not.
We're not, because Randy's a doofus. Oh, well.
All in the span of a couple hours, but hey,
I think life needs to get out of my way and let my gaming happen more often. But yeah, I did play. I played with you last. Well, we played Hyperborea. I'm going to play Saturday, Savage Worlds. That's right. So, yeah. How about you? Did you get any other gaming in besides what we did?
No, just the one. We'll talk about it later. It was Hyperborea. Stick around.
Yep.
But first, we're going to finish our retro review of Dragon Magazine, Volume 2.
Let's do it.
Point Blank, that is latest edition, which is 3rd, I think. So, yes.
Yep.
Current edition, 3rd. All right, so Best of Dragon Magazine, Volume 2. I have the PDF up, but you probably have all the highlighting. I just read it.
Oh, I just said hello
to share what you have.
I just said hello to Mr. Boivin on Rumble. So I don't think that's why. Welcome.
That's probably not right,
Mr. Max. I have it on my my PB. Yeah, I want to get us. I'll get us in the right articles, and I got some comments I wanted to make. So
Yes, Violet solves everything over on Rumble. That's the comment you were talking about with
Yeah, the gout.
in 2 years, no, in 5. Yeah, it's an age group. Once you get into a certain age group, it's a paradigm shift.
Dude,
Unfortunately, most of it's not good.
Another thing before we started in this article, Mr. Boivin is making a game called Winter Dark. Did you see that on his show?
No, I didn't.
Yes, it sounds like a good one. I'm really excited. So I can't wait to see it.
Grimdark, but in the winter?
It's a dice pool game. I didn't get to watch the whole video, but I will. I'm excited for him. And
winter-themed Grimdark.
I will be checking it out, dude. We will be checking it out, sir. You can count on it.
Maybe it's what you call it? Game of Thrones. That was winter's coming. So is that what we're going to say with your game, Mr. Boivin? Winter is coming. Winter Dark is coming.
I don't know. I think it's a pretty simple. The core of the system sound pretty straightforward. So I'm excited to look at it.
That sounds cool. I'll catch that episode. Get myself caught up.
I'll tell you what, because I'm kind of pumped about. Once I get my last edit pass, I'm still loafing, but not loafing. That's not true. Randy's been working pretty hard this past week, trying to get the second room done. Flooring, got the first one completely done. I plan to get back on Mudsword. I'm just going to take it, Joe. I'm going to run with it. I'll probably use you as a springboard, but I think I'm going to just go ahead and get jiggy with those rules because I have to figure out what kind of. We'll talk about it. I'm going to talk about it during our gaming segment. I got a lot of comments there, so.
Right. Winter's not coming. It's here. It's not winter here.
We had
or maybe that's what you would say in Winter Dark because it's all winter all the time.
Ah.
But Mr. Boivin says the name was just a placeholder. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably don't want to confuse that with Shadow Dark. So. Because it'll actually probably be interesting. Whereas Shadow Dark, Shadow Dark's fine, but that's not very exciting if you look at the rules. It's pretty lame. It's fine if you like it. I don't care. It's just not my cup of tea.
Reprint with some flavor changes.
Well, Shadow Dark is bring the 5e people in line with the OSR and yes, Iron Man. In case anybody's wondering, Mudsword has been our quote unquote code name. I thought it was cool because I remembered back when 3rd edition was being talked about. If I'm remembering correctly, or when 4th edition, one of the editions was being talked about at WotC, they called it Project Morningstar. And I said, "Oh, dude, that's like spy crap." And me and Joe were talking in one of the old podcasts. We were not even in video at that time, I don't think. And we were talking about an adventure where you could come in and you know when I dropped you guys in the butt naked in a swamp. Remember that? We talked about that, Joe. Back in the day when you and I were playing, I teleported the whole party to a swamp, and they were like 8th or 9th level, and I took all their gear. They had nothing, which they loved that. And I said, well, at least you could have found a sword in the mud. No, Joe goes, there wasn't even a sword in the mud. And I was like, that'd be a great name for a game, Mudsword. So Mudsword is a placeholder. Yeah. Caster. No, it is not a euphemism. Get your mind out of the gutter. So. Joe,
I had no idea what he's talking about. Then you said the gutter, and I'm like, what?
It feels gutter. I could be wrong. I'll let Ironcaster correct me that he may not be guttery. Iron Man, don't start any brand with mud or poop or lousy. Dude, I kind of like poop, but I don't think I will think hard about making the game involve the word poop somehow. So that'll be more flavor.
You're limiting your audience
hey,
with poop in the title.
Let's be honest. If it's a game by me and Joe, we're probably going to have a pretty limited audience.
Yeah, we are.
This is dumb, dude. It's just a D&D clone. This blows. Oh.
I've listened to a few lit RPG books, so maybe maybe you should take away my geek card.
I'm going to take it. Okay, I got it.
But at the very least, even though a couple of them are not great, gives you some ideas for systems. So
yeah,
I've got some. I got some ideas.
Good. Did
you see that? Ironcaster.
Yeah.
Quote: I kind of like poop. Randy, 2023.
Yeah, dude. He knows how. Dude, he's speaking my language now. I just responded to him anyway. So, All right. Shall we get actually to Dragon Magazine, Volume 2?
Dragon Magazine. Oh, before Dragon Magazine.
Let's not get there then.
Do the things.
Yes.
So stop whining. You subscribe, like, share, hit the bell notification, tell your friends and enemies to go check out Biggest Geekus on YouTube and on Rumble. And while we're talking about Rumble, thank you, Violence Solves Everything, for checking us out over there and giving us a like because there's a like, and he's the only one there apart from Randy. So he had to do it unless Randy did it. And if Randy did it, you're a cheater.
Well, I have been known to be. No, I've never been a cheater, actually. That's not my game, baby. Point Blank says 13th Age has a druid spell called Big Muddy. How dare they take my ideas? No one can use mud or poop but me.
I wonder if it's anything like what's the spell that turned rock to mud?
Rock to poop.
Transmute rock to mud.
That's going to be an argument. It's going to be rock to poop. That'll be perfect. That would be sick. Hilarious, but sick. Okay, let's get going before we get, because we're going to get a million of these comments. Rock to poop, rock to this to that.
Right. So, did you want to share your copy of the magazine?
I can
highlight.
Well, I don't have it highlighted on the computer. I have it on my iPad.
Well, that's fine. I will then.
You want to share?
I will then share. Share will then. Let's see. Window. Okay, that's not good. It's not showing it. Did I close it? No, I did not. There we go. Boom, 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 boom. That's the very end. Let me get us up to page 29. Is that it?
No, the next one. We did that last time. That was the last thing we ran through was realism.
There it is.
What the game is and where it's going. Now, this is kind of weird because, like, I was thinking, like, this article, the game is, look at the date, February 1979. So I guess that number 22 must be the 22nd issue of The Dragon. But
yeah, it must be doing number 22.
I highlighted some things. A lot of my highlights were either something that caught my eye or something I thought would catch Joe's eye. And so at the bottom of that last paragraph, it says there he's making an analysis about the game. And he says, I've lately taken to likening the whole to Aristotle's Poetics, carrying the analogy to even more ridiculous heights. By stating that each dungeon map, people that talk about so let me clarify. This article,
the very last paragraph of the article.
No. So in this game, the idea is trying to explain what D&D is to people, because he's been interviewed. Yes. He was interviewed a lot back then as trying to say what it was, and he said, "I have lately taken to likening the whole to Aristotle's Poetics, carrying the analogy to even more ridiculous heights, by stating that each dungeon master uses the rules to become a playwright, hopefully one of Shakespearean stature, scripting only plot outlines, however, and the players become the thespians." Do you like that? Is that a good description of what D&D is?
A playwright, scripting, scripting only plot outlines.
Very outliney.
Yeah, so it's just the scripting isn't people's, lines or whatever.
No.
It's the plot. Mm-hmm. It's plot outlines.
Right.
I wouldn't call that scripting, but that's fine. He's just he's doing a simile there.
I thought you would like the thespian comment.
No, I do not.
But on the next page,
I think hanging on too much to thespian type of attitudes about role playing, if that's what you want to do, that's cool. I'm not.
I think there's room at the table for all of that, because when I role play, I tend to be a little bit of a prima donna role play thespian dude.
I
Wannabe
mean, a little
thespian.
bit is fine.
But I mean,
You know?
I think people can do that. You can really get into your character and use weird voices. I don't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with other people doing it.
Right. And I don't have a problem with people like you. Joe will get into it. He will talk first person sometimes, but it's mostly I go over here, I go over there. And that's, but he doesn't really get into too much. He doesn't don't want to do a whole lot of talky, though I can catch him from time to time, and if I catch his interest or if I piss him off, then it's like I'm role playing with his character, though it's a lot of times I'm pissing Joe off.
Oh, sure. I can get a hero monologue going pretty
Yes,
good.
you can. So that's cool.
How dare you, dastardly villain. Sure.
But anyway.
But I switch in and out of first and third. I don't care. It doesn't bug me. And people who get into the voices and stuff, I think it's cool. And that's good for them. It doesn't bother me one way or the other. I don't care. It doesn't.
Yeah. So, but on the next page, and this is, I can't remember if this is, at the very top of the next page in the quoted part at the top where it says winning it's on page 32. Winning no more applies to a D&D game than it does to real life. The successful DMs and players gain renown via their campaigns or their superior characters. Interesting. To enthusiasts of the game, this is far more satisfying than triumphing in a single game or a whole series of game. So their characters.
Yeah, winning isn't the idea. There's being successful. There's advancing your character and all that stuff.
Right.
Being having an encounter where everybody is living, or your character, at the very least, your character is alive. But winning isn't the idea of a role-playing game.
Right.
That's not the idea behind it.
No,
it's a different kind of game. Yeah. Most games there are win conditions. This particular game, there are no win conditions.
Yeah. Then later on, he tries to see something when it's simply stated. The D&D game is a multiplayer game of fantasy role-playing where the rules give systems of resolution for common game occurrences, lists and explanations of things which are not actual, things that don't really exist, monsters, spells, magic, systems for interaction and suggestions as to how to put this into the campaign. And of course, Gary's got to use his words, create the milieu. Once begun, the campaign continues until the DM and or all the players decide it should end. As with any exercise in which you're fond of saying that, Joe. Campaigns in when the players say it's over. That means everybody at the table says, I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
Not that it has to be a vote, but basically. As with any exercise.
More open-ended.
Right. As with any exercise in fantasy, it requires suspension of disbelief. Those who find the game interesting will soon enough thereafter create their own sort of involvement and belief. Ryan David at Nerd Cognito made a comment this week in his totally non-inflammatory episode, so no one needs to get mad. They were talking about how they grew up, how they were introduced to D&D. And he made a comment that really resonated with me. He goes, for him, the first time he played D&D, he was hooked and he knew it. And I was like, dude, this is my jam. This is for us, it was like, this is a cool new thing that I am into. And I don't think everybody is. I think, I don't know if Ryan David means this when he says it. He goes, it's not for everybody. I don't think it is. I don't think the game is for everybody. Some people just aren't down for it.
That is for everybody.
Right. Correct.
It's not interesting to everybody. It would be silly. It's silly, and it's silly that Wizards of the Coast thinks that it is, and for some reason they're trying to get everybody. It's dumb. But no, it's not for everybody. It's for people with particular sensibilities, and that's all there is to it.
Then he talks about the popularity of the game on the same page, and he talks about in this one little piece, it's still on the same page, about first paragraph in the middle. It's therefore scarcely surprising that a game which directly involves participants in a make-believe world of just such a nature should prove popular. And had I reasoned out the enthusiasm it roused amongst the first few who played it, it would have been evident that the D&D game was destined to become very popular indeed. Naturally, hindsight is 2020, and the fact is the game was originally written for a small audience of devoted miniature players. Yeah, Legion says, my wife hates RPGs. I hate the royal family, so we know how to get under each other's skin. They do just each their own. Yeah, role playing is not for everybody.
There are things that the same thing. Hate the royal. I don't hate the royal family. I just don't care when someone brings them up. I'm like, why are we talking about the?
They don't affect me. They're not part of my world. They don't.
But
well, they're part of my world. They're part of the world. They hold no interest to me.
Right. There are the people who are really into that stuff are called Anglophiles.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
And I think
everybody's got their things.
Turn to the very next page, and you commented on this when you and I were reading it.
Yeah, the problem we're having here is you're reading, and we've got a wall of text for people to look at.
Yes.
And I'm trying to highlight, but I'm not able.
No, it's kind of a problem whenever you're trying to share. I have issues too, which is funny because I do have a Mac, and they're vastly superior, so I'm not sure what's going on.
I think it's because the program I'm using isn't great at recognizing the text. It's just seeing an image, so there's no way for me to pick out individual text because it's all a picture. So, but I'll just go back up to this is the article we are looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, on the subject of not everybody likes the same things, football is for everyone with testosterone. Well, everybody has testosterone, even women. Women have some.
Then it's for everybody. He's right. Football's for everybody.
Now, maybe he doesn't mean that in the literal. He's meaning that in the significant amount of testosterone.
Oh, I don't know about all that. But I think it's
OCR,
cool.
That's what I was looking for in my head.
OCR?
Character recognition, OCR.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Is that computer stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't care. And I asked the question. That was awesome. Why is this happening? I don't care. Whatever your answer is, I don't care. Yep. I'm with you, Mercer Core. Football and tabletop. I just wish the NFL wasn't so stupidly annoying with their political crap. So you notice the second page 32 was typed twice.
Yes, I did. And so here you will see the same here. Yes. Somehow the PDF, it's not a proper scan. I got this a long time ago. So perhaps there's a newer version that has better optical scanning on it than it does now. Is your next line you're reading from page 32?
No, I was just pointing out that it was funny that
because
that was a copy of the same page. In the next page, which is 33, let's see here real quick. See if I find something interesting.
I'm just going to keep referring to the beginning of the article so people know which one.
Yeah, that's fine because I don't think we got to have.
I can't highlight anything.
Yeah. I thought was funny was near the end of the article, he says, as all the AD&D system is not written yet, it is a bit early for prognostication, but I envision only minor expansions and some rules amending on gradual addition to addition basis. Minor expansion.
Minor.
I do not believe that hobbyists and casual players should be continually barraged with new rules, new systems, and new drains on their purses.
I don't think he really believes that.
Well,
or believed that. He might have when he wrote that article, but he changed his tune at some point.
Let's remember, he was not part of second edition, Joe.
I know, but first edition even had a lot of books.
A lot? Monster Manual 1, Monster Manual 2.
Unless I'm mixing up all the splat books. Is that second edition?
Well, yeah, second edition is all you're talking all the ones like
Complete, this, that, and the other thing.
Complete.
That's all second edition?
Yeah, Homosexual, Elven Druid, yeah. That was it.
Okay.
So, hey, Crafting Gamer, what's up? Bruce Lombardo in the house. making mean comments about the WNBA, for which I agree with. Let's see
That's
here.
fine. They only 2 people watch that. So
Yeah, all 2 of them. They need to get paid the same as the men. Well, the men are kind of dumb too, so whatever. So I don't know. So we had the 3 core books, Monster Manual 2, Fiend Folio. I guess the end you could say Dungeoneer and Wilderness Survival Guide and Deities and Demigods. Sorry, funny football comment. Mercer RPG says Tom Brady was broken. OP, serious balance issues.
he's OP.
Here you go. Manual of the Plains. These are truly optional. Manual of the Plains, Dragonlance Adventures, Wilderness Survival Guide, OA, etc. I don't think there was that many though. That isn't compared to second and third. First edition was weak.
If you're comparing, but if you're just taking his comment before second edition came out and saying you don't need a bunch of new rules, yet you got a bunch of rules that the DM could say no to them, sure, but they were there.
Unearthed Arcana, Unearthed Arcana was a bunch of new rules. Monster Manual 2, I believe Monster Manual 2 added spell resistance. Is that right?
Huh?
Did Monster Manual 2 add magic resistance? No, that was in Monster Manual 1. What did Monster Manual 2 add?
There was some kind of change in Monster Manual 2 that you really, really, really liked.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
For a while, that was your favorite book.
Oh, I love the Monster Manual 2. I don't remember what it was, though. It's been so long.
No, you loved Monster Manual 2 in particular for a while.
Had a lot of good monsters, yeah. There's some really good ones that could beat up high-level characters. I like that. Will the D&D system...
No, I can't remember the particular thing.
Yep. Hey, Ryan David, just talking about you. Will the D&D system dead end when its novelty dies? That's impossible to answer. It's my personal opinion that the game form is a classic, which is of the same stamp as chess and Monopoly. Time will be the judge. Fact. I mean, he made a new way to... I include Artisan in this, but AD&D took the roof off the house, right? And so, dude, he made a new type of game. I mean, Brownstein, all those folks get some credit, but absolutely. Yes, Ironcaster says, don't worry, Ryan. It was all just awful things that we said about him. Oh, Ryan's used to that. He'll be good. That's good.
You can rewind.
Yeah, you can hear all the bad stuff.
Put us in double. It won't make us sound weird at all.
Mm-hmm.
Catch up. But new way to play, a new type of game, a role-playing game.
Yeah, I think so.
And it's undeniable.
You can, of course, quibble about who started what and who did what, but in the end, there you go.
It was popularized through Dungeons and Dragons. The other ones had a much more limited audience, I believe. I could be wrong.
Oh, Mark's genre mixer, who I don't recognize the name, but cool. Best monster book was Fiend Folio. It gave us the flump. Joe would agree. He loves the flump.
The flump does not recommend the book. However, ignoring the flump, the Fiend Folio gave a lot of cool, unusual monsters. The flump, I don't know what to tell you.
Don't you tell you.
It seems more like a video game monster, even though the video game market was pretty small at that point. But yeah, it's an amoeba, or I guess they had a giant amoeba, didn't they? That was a monster. Giant amoeba.
That was at
some point
module I ran.
Yeah. And the modules often introduced new things.
You're more like magic items than monsters, though.
No, sometimes spells too, but not for the players. Although,
but the rules didn't change a whole bunch. Unearthed Arcana screwed with the rules more than any other book.
Yeah, and those were definitely billed as optional.
Yeah, I mean that thing with the stat, like roll your 9d6 for strength, 8d6 for intelligence, 7d6 for dexterity, depending on what class you were. You love that manner of character creation.
Sure. Pretty much, I suck at 3d6 down the line.
Yeah, pretty much guaranteed your top 3 stats were going to be like 15 or higher.
Well, I like playing a wizard, and you can't play a wizard with a 10 intelligence. You don't have any spells.
And Bruce makes a good comment. He says, "How dare you not salute the mighty. I think he meant flail snail.
Flail, yeah.
Imagine if you had a flail snail with the templates. Get the advanced bestiary. Nice, Bruce. Dude, it just wouldn't be our podcast or our show if Bruce didn't come in and mention the
It would
advanced
be,
bestiary.
you could have a fiendish, draconic, clockwork flail snail.
For sure. I'm asking Violence what's his first favorite first edition monster. So yes, Matt. Do you now? Matt Barnager said something. I've just not read that. Hollow World.
That was more for the known world setting for D&D, not
Mystara.
AD&D.
Mystara.
Yeah.
Yeah. I owned it. I owned that
Well,
box set at one time.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is inside Mystara. Yep.
Yep. Okay. Anything else about that article? You want to move on to the next one?
Let's keep going.
Much about melee.
Now, if I remember this correctly, he talks about crits in this a bit, right?
Yes, he does.
He doesn't like crits because it's worse on the PCs.
He mentions monsters. He said that more on the other one, but he does mention that some. Let's see.
He also, is this the article where he says something about specialization doesn't make any sense?
No, that was we talked about that last time. That was in the
okay
realism versus game logic. In this one, he's talking about the validity of the D&D combat system. Some people claim it's not a faithful representation of combat potential of a figure.
There isn't a game system that has that.
I have a question. Look on page 34, and there's a word. I highlighted the whole sentence.
Page 34?
Page 34. Near the top. In fact, it's in the first sentence in the second paragraph. Hacking and slewing? Is that correct?
Yeah, he meant slaying.
Okay.
Although, did you look up slewing?
I did not. Did you?
I did not.
I
just assumed he meant slaying.
Present participle of slew. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Who's an
English?
English?
The rotation of an object around an axis, usually the z-axis.
What?
An example is a radar scanning 360 degrees by slewing around the x-axis.
Okay.
What is it meant to slew someone? The past tense of slay.
That is a past participle.
So I think that he's misusing a word.
Yeah. Anyway, he said hacking and slaying. I'll use the proper word.
That is an abuse of the English language of the first order.
Should not, of course, be the first refuge of the beleaguered D&D player, let alone his or her initial resort when confronted with a problem situation. What do you think of that? Fighting should not be your first recourse as a D&D player.
He's a big fat liar.
All right.
Okay, so you can't always negotiate with the monsters because most of the time you can't talk to them. If you can talk to them, most of the time they're just going to say, hey, there's a good snack on 2 legs coming to my mouth. So it really depends on the situation. Saying that hacking and slaying should not, of course, be the first refuge of the beleaguered D&D player. I think that it could be. It's not necessarily. He said it should not be.
Right.
It's situational.
Well,
so not every encounter you don't need to pull your sword out every encounter.
Yeah.
But many of them you do. So it's all situational.
Let's parlay with the displacer beast, Ryan David says.
Yeah.
But he follows it up with, naturally enough, a well-run campaign will offer a sufficient number of alternatives as well as situations which encourage thinking, negotiation, and alternatives to physical force by means of careful prompting, I love this last part, or object lessons in the negative form. First level, The 27th level dragon, monster demon lord. You shouldn't fight him. You should submit to his will. What do you
Okay.
think?
So, all right. So you turn around the corner, and the DM says, "Look, when you look around the corner, there's a giant. He's 10 feet tall. His sword is taller than you, probably weighs more than you. And if you get close to it, you're going to have to figure out how to live after being hit with that sword." So if that's what he's talking about in your first level, then sure.
Right. He also talks about how melee combat will occupy. This is where I'm not sure what he's talking about. I mean, he's talking in-game time. Welcome, Halcyon H. Patrick just did the conjugation for the word. Leave it to an English major. Slay, slew, slain, slay, slaying. That's the conjugation for slay. Slew isn't past participle. It's simple participle.
Right. But slewing isn't a word.
I didn't think so.
Slaying is a word.
Correct.
Slewing? No.
Probably a typo. I'd like to think that about.
I mean, not in this context. Slewing with regard to rotating on an x-axis, yes. Slewing with regard to slaying, no.
Okay. So anyway, then he comes up with this, and tell me, read this next sentence. Aside from, no, why don't you read it right after the negative form comment? Right.
Negative form. Aside from this, however, combat and melee will certainly occupy a considerable amount of time. He does that. He says it shouldn't be your first time, but there should be a lot of it. So you're not really saying anything. Certainly occupy a considerable amount of time during any given adventure, at least on the average. So I think he buried the lead here. He's trying to downplay combat, but he's saying it should occupy considerable time. So it would probably have been better if he said, combat is going to be considerable effort in your gaming, but you shouldn't. That shouldn't be everything. That's probably a better way of putting it than this word salad he has here.
And he follows up with spell and missile combat.
You just muted.
Muto?
Or no, your audio is delayed.
I have delayed audio?
Yeah, something wrong with your audio. Did you accidentally unplug your
I don't think so. Am I not here? Am I still delayed?
Nothing. Nada.
Really? What happened? Nothing? Testing 1, 2. Are you folks hearing this?
You're breaking up.
Am I breaking up to everybody or just Joe?
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay. How's that? Good? Mercer says I sound fine.
You were sounding fine, and then you're kind of cutting in and out. I don't know. Does he
Malachi hears me. Mercer Core hears
find
me.
everybody out? Okay,
just
so
Joe.
I guess it is just for some reason.
Joe, you're breaking up, dude. Come on, quit it. Quit breaking up.
Okay. Give me a moment.
Joe's getting 1 moment, and that's it. Joe is suffering alone. We hear Randy. Well, you hear the most important one. So you guys are doing well. Okay, while Joe does his thing, what I was trying to
go on is here. Give me a moment.
Yeah. Waiting for Joe. Interesting. Point blank. Gygax was always contradictory. That's why I usually ignore him. Going back, and now that I'm reading his stuff again, I think you might be right. Malachi says he hears you, Joe. So it's between you and me somehow. You and I aren't connecting. That's weird. How do you even fix that? Let me go without the headset for a second.
It's me, not you.
How's that? Is that better, Malachi? I would, are we better now? How was that? Testing 1 5. Our sound is crap. Oh, turn your volume up. I can you both just fine, says Patty. So mute myself. I need to mute myself. His Bluetooth has failed, Joe says. Are we hearing me? Oh, okay. Thank you, gentlemen. I will try to be. I am not an artist, so I will take that in mind. So apparently, I'm blasting the crap out of people whenever I unplug and stuff. Okay. I hear Randy and a dog barking. Yeah. Well, I do that to dogs. So there you go. They bark because they secretly think I'm awesome. Let me see. While we wait on Joe, let's see here. I don't want to keep pushing it. So anyway, I sound good now. Joe sounds really good because we're not listening to him. So that's pretty awesome that we're listening to Joe without him talking. I think that's good. Everybody's hearing me. Awesome. So you have the important one. So we're safe. So anyway, what else? Oh yeah, I'll just talk about this a little bit. Nah, I better not. That'll be the next segment. Got it. Big Geek Con. While we wait for Joe, we have another person signed up for Big Geek Con. So we're at 15 for sure. I'm feeling like I might just go ahead with it for sure. I'm feeling like 90% confident it's going to happen now. I got to talk to a few more of my buddies. One of my buddies last week signed up. We got to get a few more people to buy those tickets. Any of my friends that are listening, you have to buy tickets. I can't let you come for free just because you're one of my homies here in Michigan. So, but it's happening at the 4 points, and it's looking better and better. I think you're back, Joe. I heard you.
I'm back.
All right.
I had a Bluetooth failure. I'm using these. If anybody else is familiar with these, Soundcore
Oh, okay.
Bluetooth headset, and I dropped one. I totally forgot about it, and it was interfering with the one I was using here on the stream. So yeah.
Hey, we have Patty's Parlor over on Rumble too, so that's cool.
Yay! Welcome, Patty.
Patty's in the house. I saw him on Mr. Boivin show, design show. Was it last week? That was pretty cool. Good to see Patty. I tell you what, redheads are just smart. That's what I'm finding.
That's not biased at all.
Not at all. Nope, not even a little bit.
True facts.
Just facts. All right, so back to the article then.
Yes.
So you mentioned the thing about combat not taking much time, and Point Blank said he made something that was pretty kind of I don't call it. It got me thinking. I think you already knew this. I'm going to put it up again. He said Gygax was always contradictory. That's why I usually ignore him. You know, the more I read the old stuff, the old articles, I think I agree. He does seem to go all over the place, finding lots of contradictions.
He rambles. When you ramble and you're not thinking, you can contradict yourself accidentally.
It doesn't make him a bad guy. It doesn't make his games bad. It's just it's kind of weird.
So it's something that I brought up last week is he has a lot of opinions.
Yep, we all do.
He made the game, and he has a lot of opinions about how the game should be played. And I would say this to him, Mr. Gygax, your opinions are fine for you. I will play the way I want and think about the game the way I feel. The way I want to think.
True. Which is how everybody should do their game anyway.
If he makes a compelling point, I'll listen. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the times his points are not all that compelling.
Yeah. I didn't think there was much to say until the end when he said he thought melee combat was somewhat analogous to a boxing match. Did you read that at the end?
And I don't agree.
Well, I'm not sure I do either, but he says his buddy Don Turnbull stated he envisioned three sorts of attacks were continually taking place. Attacks which had no chance of hitting, including feints, parries, and the like. That's not always true in combat. Sometimes you're just watching them and feeling them out and trying to figure your.
Boxing has a set of rules.
Yep.
That the boxers both know about, and they have a ref there that he mentions that is making sure everybody's adhering to the rules. Melee has no rules.
Yes.
Right. The kind of fights that are emulated in game is winner takes all. Low shots are good. You stick your dagger in somebody's nutsack, and if it makes you win the fight, then you're good. There's no rules.
Well, winning is living.
Right? It's a scrum, like
Legion would say.
So
yeah,
it's not a comparable thing.
Yeah, because it's life or death. I mean, the rules kind of go out the window then.
Yeah.
It's like saying there's a really big guy who swings his sword hard, so you're going to use your speed and not really engage him in like your sword's not going to clang against his if you can help it because you don't want him knocking it out of your hand.
Right. In boxing, you can trade blows, right? Especially if there are some people in boxing who can take a really hard beating, and then they're just going to wait for their moment to get that shot in that really, knocks somebody out, right?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to read the last.
But you don't do that in a sword fight. You don't trade blows in a sword fight, because when you trade blows in a sword fight, you get killed.
Okay, so Legion's asked me to read the last paragraph. Is he talking about the one on the page that Joe is on, or the one about the boxing comment?
Probably the one that I'm on. The logic of the D&D melee system is simple. They reasonably reflect fantastic combat, and they work well from all standpoints. Okay, that's his opinion.
Yeah.
My advice is to leave well enough alone and accept the game for what it is. That's fine. Mm-hmm. If you must have more detail in melee, switch to another game. For the combat portions of the D&D rules are integral, and unsuccessful attempts to change melee will result in spoiling the whole. That's an opinion. Better to start fresh than to find that much time and effort has been wasted on a dead end variant. Most of that's opinion.
Yeah.
And sure, he made it, and that's what he thinks about it. Mm-hmm. And it reflects fantastic combat. That I can agree with. Most of the rest of that combat, take it or leave it. If you want to change it, fine. If you don't, fine.
They reasonably reflect fantastic combat. Yes. They work damn well from all standpoints. Not from my standpoint, they don't.
No.
We'll talk about that tonight. I have some opinions on certain things we used in old school that I don't like. Interesting.
So he would need to probably frame that a little bit better to get across the point of why it works well. What about it works really well? Reflecting fantastic combat is too subjective to really attach anything to, really.
Yeah.
It's a very subjective paragraph. It's an opinion.
Yeah, Mercer, of course, he's not sure he's read it. He's not really sure he understands it. I guess, whatever. If you must have more detail in your melee, switch to another game. Well, that's not bad advice in the terms of, I don't know how well hit point systems work in super simulation games.
Well, the thing is, considering how DIY D&D has always been,
mm-hmm.
and how all your different tables have their own house rules and whatnot, saying play it the way it's written or play a different game is a bit draconian.
Yeah. Yeah. Legion says he's going to write that into his game. Play it as I write it or go pound sand.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah, that's great.
I didn't even read that before I said what I said. But it's he's being a control freak, but he may also being a D&D cheerleader.
Yeah. Right. Realize we're talking an article
that he's trying to sell his game.
In April 79, yeah. The full game's not even out yet for AD&D.
Maybe a bit inexpertly, but I think that's what he's doing. Hey, this is a great game. Play it. Play this game.
Yeah.
You don't need all these other different rules. These are good rules. Play this game.
Right.
He's being a cheerleader for his system, uh, admitting that there are maybe some better ways of reflecting fantastic combat than he thought of.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't probably is a little bit of a shock to the ego that he's not willing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I probably. What did you think about his comment? This is where at the end, but back a little bit. Hit points are a combination of actual physical constitution, skill at the avoidance of taking real physical damage, luck and/or magical or divine factors. I think you were kind of against that, aren't you?
Yeah, it's because it doesn't say, it says cure light wounds.
Right.
It doesn't say cure light divine intervention or cure light luck. It says cure light wounds.
It should say
Everything else about the healing and curing and making you better in the game, in the text of all of those things, is curing wounds, curing damage to your body. It's not saying restore the luck that you have lost. It's saying wounds, you're healing, you're recovering.
Well, okay, so now you're arguing more the semantics of it.
No,
the language, wounds, I get it. Wounds,
he's
bother.
saying this is what hit points are.
Mm-hmm.
He's describing. That's not. I mean, that might be how there's some description in the rule books like that as well. There may be, but he's saying this is what hit points are. Yet the game doesn't reflect that. The game, in its descriptions, so you could say semantics, but in its descriptions of things,
right. I think semantics is the wrong word.
Health and wounds and damage. When you hit somebody with a sword, it does a D8 worth of damage. It's not a D8 worth of physical harm plus luck plus. It doesn't say damage. All those things. It says hit points and damage, physical damage. So
if you let,
I would say maybe that's what the idea of it is, but it's not truly reflected in the game.
The language in the game has problems. They don't connect. If that's what hit points represent, then the curative side of magic doesn't really reflect that well, is what you're saying.
Right.
What if I'm thinking now, what if you said, what do we think about this? Because I personally think that's probably the best way to imagine it. Because I don't, and I go, you're probably going to get on this, but we've always talked about it. It's hard to imagine even a 10th level fighter being able to take more cuts from the sword. He can't. He can't take more cuts.
Or what you're doing is realism.
I get you. So I'm trying to.
If you're saying fantasy, then no. I mean, I get what you're saying in a lot of ways. There is luck involved, perhaps, but it's a wonkiness it's a role-playing game issue where you can say, hey, your character has 30 hit points. Well, you took 29 hit points. Well, that must mean you got an arrow through the neck or something, right? Or maybe even the DM describes that. But the D&D system doesn't support, except optionally, hit locations or wound specific ailments. Like if you got an arrow in your neck, it's going through your trachea and probably at least one of your arteries, and you're going down. Doesn't matter that it didn't take away all your hit points. You're unconscious on the ground bleeding out.
Interesting.
But there's a vagueness to everything in the game like this with hit points and when you get hit, what does it mean? What part of you does it hit? All of that's a bit vague. You can describe it, but the description doesn't affect your character necessarily unless the DM wants to do that. But the base game system is you lose hit points. Correct.
And that's what I think his description is allowing that, though. He's just saying this is a way to think of it.
Sure.
I mean, and to me that's superior if you're going to use hit points. I think I would not want to think of it as your physical body. You took a slash to the chest. I want to get to a comment here. I'm not sure this. Welcome, Justin Thor LPs. I don't know this guy. Actually, I think I've seen him on other threads, on other shows. I'm hearing you complain about the inconsistency in verbiage, but you're using a semantic argument. I don't think we're talking semantics unless you're talking to me. I use the word, but I get what you're. I think what we're trying to get to is that if you're going to use hit points in your game, Joe would like to see that reflected in the verbiage, or at least
just call it hit points. Don't worry about all
don't
this
define it.
the gobbledygook. You have hit points. When you use Cure Light Wounds, it recovers your hit points. It doesn't recover your luck. It doesn't recover your divine sanctioning or any of this other stuff.
So Cure Light Wounds should be cure a few hit points. Cure hit points one.
It doesn't matter to me. It cures hit points. We call it hit points. It cures hit points. You can think of it as all these other things, but who cares?
Well, I guess for you it doesn't matter. I care. You don't, and that's fine. Half dozen one, six of the other.
Yeah, but it doesn't affect gameplay.
Yeah. I don't know. Justin says, yes, the human body has instant death zones, and most animals do. Sure. I don't think I want to. I think I'm with Joe though. I don't. Legion mentioned earlier he likes games that are. How did he say it? I don't want to.
That has hit locations and specific injuries.
Yeah, and that's a preference. That's completely fine. I think overall I'm less enthused with that, but I get it. I mean, there's a bit of a charm to it, but it
can be more detrimental to the character.
Mm-hmm. You can get in that
Instead
spiral.
Of saying your character is 100% functional at full hit points all the way down to 1.
Mm-hmm.
You only have 1 hit point. You're fully functional. You can use all your stuff. You can hit just as well. It doesn't affect anything.
Mm-hmm. Until
you get 1 more hit point of damage, then you're done.
Yeah. David Gwill agrees with you. Cure whatever wounds is why hit points must be meat points. Yeah, but
every other descriptor of what curing does says it heals damage.
I'm literally not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I don't care to think of it that way because it seems ridiculous. I get that the words sound like that's what it is, but it seems, look, you got to have a certain suspension of disbelief. And if you're going to say you took 10 swipes from a sword on your body, meat points, and you're still standing up, that's hard for me to buy. I mean, you could say
because in the real world it wouldn't work that way.
And in fantasy too.
In a fantasy world, the way you can explain it is that your fighter knows how to move just a little bit so that it's not hitting anything vital. So that your bones aren't broken or tendons aren't torn. It's just a flesh wound all the way until 1.
Yeah, I think hit point
is weird.
Yeah,
it's a weird D&D paradigm that I don't really care about most of the time. When we're down to playing, I don't have these arguments. But if if we're going to pick nits, then this is one that's worth picking, in my opinion.
Well, and I like his description. I can move on, but I also agree the wording's bad in the cure part. I mean, but I know I always use something like this to describe to new people that their physical body was maybe 10, 12 hit points, maybe 20 at most, but the rest of it was their luck and their dodge ability. But it doesn't make a lot of sense in terms of the stats and language of the game. I'll give you that, but that's how I think of it, because I just can't envision everybody getting all cut up like, yeah, you need to heal me now. I mean, I guess it could happen though. Who knows? I don't know. You don't know. Oh, that's cool. That's why Delvers, David Gwill says, has meat and fatigue hit points. That's where I do think a game like, I guess, Delvers, and what was the one that I first saw it in that had, did they have it in Arcana Evolved in 3rd edition, or did it come along in the saga system for Star Wars where you had wound points and vitality points?
I think that was in some version of the Unearthed Arcana.
I actually kind of like the idea.
It sounds familiar.
I like that idea. That's a little more. That's pretty.
And that's the same. Cool. That's the same thing as meat and fatigue points. But I want to ask a question of David Gwill. How many meat points does a porterhouse steak have?
1 million.
Probably a lot.
Because they're awesome meat points. All right, that was a fun. I'm making notes too about all the topics in gaming that can lead to big discussions. Is if we could probably go down this whole discussion forever. Um,
Right. But the more complexity of this nature that you add to combat, the more it can seem that you're going down the simulation road, right?
mhm.
And the more if the more nuance that you want to give to a combat system, it can seem that way, which can't for some people it works.
David Gwill, in answer to Joe's question, enough hit points to wipe out his hunger points. Cool.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, it's interesting, but I'm just writing this as we go. I got hit points, alignment, and armor class. Those are three big hot button topics. So
Right,
anyway,
right.
so further on, I didn't see much else that I really cared about that I thought was all that great. I did read it. Did you have other comments on this particular article? You want to move on?
No, it's to me a lot of this argumentation is early D&D argumentation.
Yeah.
And I think we're well beyond it in this day and age when, especially us who are old school players, we know this argument. It's not a huge deal. I'll argue with it, but at the end of the day, I don't really care all that much. I'm more just being a contrarian when it comes to this.
Right.
But this is an older argument that there were people in the realism versus gamism camps, where some people liked more realism in their combat, and some people liked the vagueness of hit points and armor class, and simplicity versus realism.
Yeah, hit points are gamey, and hit locations are a little more simulationist. So yeah. Cal is late to the party. Ryan David's booking it. So cool. Lost one, gain one. Net zero. Wait a minute, that's not a good thing. All right.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this one. David Will also says, I've moved past the hit point argument to the weird 1-to-1 timekeeping argument. Yeah,
that's fun.
I'm like, whatever.
Dude, I'm writing that one down too. That is so weird to me.
Some people like it. So every day when you start a new D&D campaign, every day in the real world is a day in the game world. And that kind of, to me, imposes some wonkiness. What if you want to advance time and stuff like that? I mean, you can say 1-to-1 with exceptions, and that might be okay, but it's still kind of weird. I really don't see, I've heard people talk about it. I just still don't see the need.
Yeah.
It doesn't really solve any issues.
For my money, I'll take a hit point system usually, but I have seen a few other systems that I enjoy. Savage World system I enjoy, but that feels sometimes a little annoying. So, but it's kind of
swingy.
Yeah, it's an all or nothing, dude. You have a great day.
Swingy.
You have a great day till you get hit. Then you have a really bad day, which some folks like that, right? So anyway, yes, David, please email us your thoughts. I love reading your emails, my good man. Character social class, the next article. Honestly, didn't read that. I read it, but I didn't find it all that interesting other than that list of all the different types of governments. That was kind of fun for a fantasy setting.
Oh, what am I doing?
Page 36 and 37.
Okay, much about melee. Character social class, yeah. Yeah. I think social class like this, if you have an upper class, especially in D&D, if you're saying you've got a noble in the group, as opposed to everybody else might be, dung farmers, and you got a noble, I don't think that works that well, because unless the noble ignores that he's a noble and just is another party member.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting too. Like the whole idea of a noble character, it can work. I think as long as I'm just not. That's another topic. I got to write that down. Things that bug me.
If you're playing a party full of aristocrats or people that are in the same echelon, they don't all have to be aristocrats or nobles. But if the setting that you're working with has an upper crust that has different sorts, so some may be nobles, some may be very rich merchants and stuff like that, that's fine, because they can be peers. But if your first level characters are really different from really different strata, I mean, it may not matter all that much at the table because you're all going to have the same suckiness. But the upper class, aristocrat, noble type of person, the character, the player is going to wonder why he doesn't have a full set of armor, sword, and mount and retainers and all this stuff. Why should he be limited to all the same things as the common character? It doesn't really make any sense. You'd have to make some arbitrary. You have to earn it, and it's no different than than a common player character earning it. Because once you go on a typical AD&D couple of adventures, you're rich.
Yeah, true, facts. But I mean, it was fine, I guess. I just didn't find all that interesting, except on page 37, where they, like I said, listed the different types of governments. When I was young, I read some. I think this was in the DM's guide too, wasn't it? Was this list in the DMG first edition? Because
I remember that there was. I don't know if this is exactly the same thing, but there was something about this. I didn't look at it too close.
I like geriatocracy since I'm old. Government by the very old. Militocracy, monarchy,
geriatocracy,
plutocracy. That's kind of the truth. Yeah. Gynarchy.
These days, most governments are plutocracies.
Gynarchic plutocracies.
Especially these days.
Because they're wusses.
Oh. They should rename Gynarchy to government by low T individuals.
Right.
But they have two things for the women. They have Gynarchy, government by females only.
And matriarchy.
Matriarchy, government by the eldest females.
Well, everything else.
And then you have plutocracy, or not plutocracy, was it?
Which is for the males.
What's the one? Geriatocracy. So the matriarchy, well, oldest doesn't mean really old.
Eldest female. Whereas geriatocracy is by the very old. So if no one's over 50, no one's very old. So no leader.
I really don't think militocracy is a thing.
The word itself?
I mean,
is there a better
most
name
of the time when you see a government that's run by the military, it's usually they just call it a dictatorship or something like that.
What is a militocracy?
I mean,
a military dictatorship. Yep.
Yeah.
I guess it's a word.
Democracy, government by the people, doesn't work. Because democracy becomes oligarchy very quickly. That's what we have now.
Yep. But hey, we don't care about that crap. I didn't find it all that interesting. You might if you're worried about government stuff in your game.
Nah, because to me, government, unless you're running, if you're running a campaign that is, there's a word for it, where it's all about politics, right? Mm-hmm. Political, more a political thing.
Yeah,
where all the players are involved with the government or with the king and the court and all that stuff, then it's important. If you're not, then it's a less is more thing. You hear about the leaders, they might send you on a mission now and again, but that's a background element.
Yeah. Yeah, I had nothing else to say in that article. I wasn't all that interested in it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because we don't usually run those we don't run those kinds of games when we play. It's usually your typical players versus the monsters type thing.
Jack the 71st, welcome. We're glad you made it. There was a lot of little snippets in here I kind of like, but the big thing was saying that AD&D is a new game from D&D. He mentions that a lot.
Well, yeah, because it is.
This I thought was funny, though, on page 40. There is no more similarity, perhaps even less, between the D&D and AD&D games than there is between the D&D system and its various imitators produced by competing publishers.
Which paragraph is that in?
Page 40, bottom, the last sentence, and near the last sentence of the first paragraph.
Last sentence on the first paragraph.
Yeah. There is no more similarity. That's weird. There's a lot of similarity between D&D and AD&D, and more than AD&D and Traveler,
Oh
and more
yeah, that's dumb.
and more than D&D and
He's just trying to distance himself from Arneson here. That's a I don't like Arneson statement.
yeah.
If I ever saw one.
Yeah. Hey, talk about
I mean,
how AD&D rectifies the shortcomings of OD&D, which for me, I agree that it is.
yeah, but it's but D&D. Well, it depends on when he's saying D&D. Does he mean old D&D or does he mean Beckme D&D? Because there's a bit of a difference there too.
Yep. Did you like how he mentioned that near the bottom of that first column, the very last sort of starting sentence on page 40 at the bottom of the first column, readers are encouraged to differentiate their campaigns, calling them AD&D adventures if they are so, while D&D campaigns can be those which feature comic book spells, 43rd level Balrogs as player characters, and include a plethora of trash from various and sundry sources. An AD&D campaign cannot be so composed.
I don't like Arneson.
Dude, that's what
Arneson.
He's pooping on him. Like, dude,
yeah,
you better look at your own game. You could have some pretty stupid characters in AD&D.
Yeah, you could do all of this in AD&D.
Yes. Well, technically, he didn't have
once
Balrogs.
you sit down, huh? No, yeah. But how hard would it be to convert a Balrog from previous editions to AD&D? It'd be simplicity.
Let's pause and help a brother out.
You just call it a
well, Baylor.
It may not be exact. You call it
Baylor.
a Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's help a brother out. Legion of Myth. He'll be on Gaming with ADHD's channel at 9:00 Central Time after Biggest Geekus. So stay here until then. Right on, dude. We'll check you out. I like that guy, the Gaming with ADHD. He puts on a nice calm. He just kind of chats. I kind of like him, and he paints all the time like Cal and the other guys. And well, Cal doesn't do a show. I just get Cal's Facebook updates. He does a lot of. I think is it Cal? Yeah, Cal's the one that does all the painting. Sorry, Cal, you're here. You're the painter, right, dude? I know I've noticed some of his recent dudes. He may painted a nice batch of what was it? Was it aberrations? No, it was something else he painted. It was pretty cool. Anyway.
Oh, look.
What?
Either a DM runs an AD&D campaign or else it is something else.
Right.
This is clearly stated within the work, and it is a mandate, which will be unchanging. Even if the AD&D system undergoes change at some future date.
Yeah.
Play it as written or pound sand.
Dude, yeah. Yep.
Mandate. Who does he think he is?
Iron Fist.
Or who did he think he was?
Yeah. It's funny. He says later on, players can move. This is middle of the. So if you count the top part of the second column as the first paragraph, third paragraph about 5 or 6 sentences in, players can move from one AD&D campaign to another and know at the very least the basic precepts of the game. That magic users will not wield swords, fighters don't have instant death to give or take with critical hits or double damage, that strange classes of characters do not rule the campaign, that the various deities will not be constantly popping in and out of the game. Didn't play our game much. At the beck and call of player characters, will suffer no such abuses. The game will not. You will not suffer that. You will suffer me, Gary. I will call down the Greek gods and I will call down the Norse gods to fight for my player characters. Because we did that.
We did all that.
Yeah, we did. Suck it, Gary. I love him, but dang. Oh, it's like a crazy old uncle, right? That's what he was, right? Like a crazy old uncle. Oh, at the bottom of this page, the D&D game initiated a tradition of fun and enjoyment in hobby gaming. It was never meant to be taken seriously.
So, but he's taking it super serial right there.
But I know
you will do it my way.
The AD&D game is done in the same mold. It is not serious. Hold on. Next page. It simulates absolutely nothing. It does not pretend to offer any realism. Then why can't I play a 43rd level Balrog?
Right.
Point blank, you nailed it, dude. This guy is so contradictory. Games are for
It is nonetheless only a game. And certainly you need to have internal consistency in a game, or you should have it. It makes a lot of sense because it's, in my opinion, it provides a more enjoyable game if there's consistency. But dang, if you want to be able to have a 43rd level Balrog in your game, I mean,
Do it.
I think it's a mistake for a player character, but if that's what you want to do.
Arneson had that in Arneson had that and a vampire in Blackmore. Arn Man, one of the old school people. We played setting over rules from the very beginning. Probably so many of us did that and provoked this article. Probably did, dude. It's your fault. It's Arn Man's fault.
Right. Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Conformity to a more rigid set of rules also provides a platform for
I have this highlighted. Go. That's awesome. Joe and I. Copacetic, baby.
Brian Bloom recently established a regular invitational meet for AD&D master players. Whatever.
That's me. I'm a master player.
It's like trying to have like a Masters golf tournament for D&D. I mean, it's dumb.
Did anybody play? I have played twice in the RPGA tournaments held at Gen Con or other places, actual tournaments. Did you ever play a D&D tournament, Joe?
No.
Dude, it's so weird. So you're like, you have a certain amount of time in your session and you have to get so far in the story. And if you don't, you get in trouble. I ran a game back in the second edition days at Gen Con. And these guys that played in my game really enjoyed it. I know it's hard to believe, but they had a good time. And I was out and about the con, just walking around, and they saw me and they're like, Randy, dude, we got this ticket for you. I'm like, ticket? We want you to join us and play in this tournament game. They had placed in the top 3 the year before. And I think that was the year that they gave away all this crap, including a replica of the rod of 7 parts. They just missed that. And they said, you need to join us and play because you're such a good DM. I'm like, dudes, I am not a great player. I haven't played a whole lot. And they're talking about the tournament. Don't worry. We did really well last year. We came in 3rd or 4th or something. And so they took me in there and they kept telling me, now, whatever you do, don't split the party. So what did one of their guys do the first 20 minutes into the game? Split the party. And we got bounced the very first round. And they were so mad at that dude. It was something else.
Yeah, so they're trying to put, I don't know why anybody in our hobby
I'm listening.
Put our hobby in the same paradigm as competition, a competitive environment like an invitational or even the idea of a player that's a master player. I mean, there is indeed the concept of system mastery, where you know the rules, you know some ins and outs, you know some synergies between different aspects of the game, which can make your player, your character perform better at the table, or maybe you, as a DM, you got some synergies going on that help you present your world and run the game at the table better. But master player, that's silly.
Yeah. Legion of Myth says
it's an elitist type of way of thinking.
Legion of Myth says, no, Gary, master player, play Battle Lords of the 23rd century. Perfect for the modern wargamer who wish to play a space RPG. Oh. Duncan Bradley's in the house.
I agree with that. Yeah. Duncan Bradley. Yeah, the whole Battle Lords of the 23rd century.
And he ends with a blatant lie. Listen to this. At the same time, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons gaming with its clearer and easier approach. How is it easier than OD&D? That crap is like, just make most of it up and wing it.
Yeah.
It's bound to gain more support. It did. I guess for the war gamers, they would like clarity and rules. That's fair. So AD&D definitely gave you all the rules you could hope for. I don't think I didn't actually make, I'm sorry, I was going on to the next article just so we could move on here. Time is flying.
It is.
Didn't have too much to say about the alignment, the evil, law versus chaos. It was fine. I agree with a lot of it. I like that kind of interpretation. So I don't know if you want to talk much about that. I kind of don't, unless you got something to say.
Yeah, I skimmed this article, so it didn't really jump out and say much to me because I'm not a huge. Yep,
I agree.
yep. You can play D&D right out of the box.
OD&D for sure.
Yeah, OD&D right out of the box. Um, we've
Special
been arguing
sensitive.
about alignments and what they really mean for a long time
No, I don't want
because
to go.
most of their descriptions are a little arbitrary. Um,
Yep.
for if you want to use alignment, your better system of alignment than the D&D 9 alignments is the Palladium alignments, mainly because of the way they are described. Now, if they took each of the 9 alignments and described them in a similar format, where it had a bullet list, so a short description, a bullet list, and a social media, not those social media, um, a popular media icon that you can, like John Wayne or Bruce Lee or Darth Vader or what something like that. You can make direct comparisons to. That's a much better format for an alignment than just a wall of text.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's saying alignment, schmalignment. No one cares. Everybody's going to say Palladium. Yeah. Mercer Core says
Or nothing.
Palladium.
I would say Palladium or nothing.
Yeah. I think Palladium's the best. I agree. I think
Or
another thing.
OD&D.
Yes.
Law unaligned chaos or law
Yeah.
neutral chaos.
Yeah.
You can make it very or good. You're the good guys, you're the bad guys, or you're the unaligned.
I want
you can do it like that and you're fine.
Mercer Core cares about alignments. I've talked to him. He thinks it's important. I think consistency is the key.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think consistency is the key, and that's it. So, a consistent character. So, and the DM can interpret you.
You can have your whole party are part of the good guys, but they can still all be different.
Yes.
You don't have. It doesn't have to be rigid.
Right. What about the article on humans and hybrids? I had a couple of comments. I don't know what you thought of his. I'm pretty sure this is where I got the half ogre from the first time. He statted it out for us.
Oh, humans and hybrids. Yeah.
Gary was not fond of going, surprise, was not fond of people going outside of the core book classes or races.
Right. I think his argument is basically it's not core, so don't play it. Right?
No, he said, here's what he said. It is important to reiterate that the hybrids not shown in AD&D Player's Handbook should be generally rejected in the well-run campaign. But if you do decide to make an exception, each exception must be detailed, like the half ogre example, which he has detailed there. Do so as a DM privately. And if after listing its parameters you find the hybrid is unacceptable, disallow it. If you like it afterwards, then you can do it. But you're supposed to do it privately. Don't let the players know what you're making, even though they ask about it.
What does it mean by privately?
Secretly in your closet.
Because you can make the character class up. You're not going to be able to know, or the race, the character race up. You're not going to know if it's any good until it's played. So how secret can it be? Unless he's talking about it at your table. I mean, that's weird.
It's kind of weird.
Where does he say that secret thing?
If you look on
At the
page
very beginning,
44, no, the second to last paragraph of the article, almost the third sentence. When you're trying to decide if you're going to make an exception with a special half breed. Get back in the closet, half ogre. Legion of Myth. I had a great half ogre player character, legendary, in my Greyhawk campaign. A legendary hero. He was almost paladin-like. He was lawful good. Yep, that was cool.
Okay, so what he might be saying is, hey, write it out before just saying, yeah, you could be a half ogre. Yeah. Write it out, because of course that's what any smart person is going to do. That you don't just tell the player, yeah, you can be a half ogre. Make something up. You're not going to do that. So you're going to write it out, and then. Or go back and restructure the characteristics, being careful to use examples in the player's handbook as a guide. Then and only then should a player be allowed. So I think what he's saying is the DM should make it up, not the
Yes.
player, and then
Right.
present it to the player after you think, hey, this looks good to me. Here, hand it to the player and say, hey, here you go. This is
And
what you
that's not the worst idea because
want. No, no, no.
players will,
That's fine.
I had a player once that tried to talk me into an Android, and I let him do it, but it was just so weird. What did you read, Joe, when you wanted to play the Android back in Beckme? You had just finished. Was it Asimov you were reading, and you wanted to play an
No,
Android?
no, no, no. I was reading a book about a dude who wakes up, doesn't remember his past, and ends up he's an android that's been made into some super spy. And I was like, oh, this is a pretty cool concept. Let's just make it up as we go along. It can't be that hard, but it is. Looks like a human, but all this stuff. And I was telling you all these things he can do. Yeah, because the guy was doing it in this book. The book,
correct.
He could change his. He could go stealthy.
Mm-hmm.
He's just an android that had stealth abilities. So I was like, yeah, I can just do that.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think I get what he's saying. I just think it's kind of funny, and he does go on to talk about being careful because, the human race is kind of favored in the AD&D game. He kind of likes it that way. So he said it was. I know Gary was not fond of the non-human races anyway. So his biases are showing, and that's okay. We all have our favorites.
So he's saying the half ogre's maximum strength would be 18,100. So the half ogre still has human maximum strength.
Yeah,
but it's weighted toward the upper end.
He did get 2 hit dice to start with of the appropriate type, and he was 7.5 feet tall, improvision to 60 feet. Yeah, and of course, that's where I remember introducing that race as an option, and I understood the idea of them. So now realize, I don't know if it says it in here or not, but I was like, I think it does, that a lot of places aren't going to be liking your half ogre rolling into their town. Because you're not even going to pass for a half orc who can usually pass as human.
Right. In this version of the game, yes.
Yeah. So people will be like, hey, we're not down with that sickness.
Because this half ogre is what, apart from the 2 hit dice, is pretty much what everybody thinks of half orc these days.
Correct. Yep.
Half orcs back in the day, they were just ugly humans, essentially, and excelled at assassination.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the half ogre. What were the other things up here? Constitution, charisma.
Yeah, you could have a high con, 12 dex, 18 con, 8 charisma, 12 wisdom, 12 intelligence. So
as your max, yeah.
As your max, pretty limited. I was trying to talk to the Rumble guys. I said Rumblers are awesome because I forgot them, so I apologize. Trying to keep my eyes on that place, but I'm not sure we have many folks over there anymore because Patty had to go eat. Oh. Point Blank says Gary was not fond of the non-human races till he woke up the next day and was fond of them. Depends on the day of the week, maybe. I mean, I waffle too. I mean, there's some of the things I think I like this, I don't like that. Yeah. So
sometimes you think you know what you like, and then you play it in the game, and you're like, oh, that's not so great.
Which is really something I want to talk about a little bit in the second segment today, because I'm kind of in a weird place.
We are getting we're an hour and a half in,
and we're just barely getting done with. Well, God, we got 2 more. You know what?
You want to do the monsters part next time?
Yeah, let's do the monsters next time. And I kind of want to. Why don't we bail on the rest of the articles in this section? They're not all that interesting. They got one
except for this one. All you need is the title here, because this is what I say a lot.
Okay, well, let's talk about that one. Why don't we talk about that one? Did you have
books
some?
Books are books, games are games.
Yeah, I agree. He makes some good arguments there. He talks about games involve the active players, whereas books are you're just reading from the start to finish and things are all set. The greater the detail and believability of the fantasy, the less room for creativity, speculation, or even alteration. I mostly agree with that. In the past, I'm sure people will poop on this idea. I struggled.
What was that last thing you just said?
He said, the greater the detail and believability, this is in the article that books are books and games are games, which I agree with in general. The greater the detail and believability of the fantasy world, the less room for creativity, speculation, or even alteration.
Oh,
He
okay.
claims, and he made the claim, he said, the Rings trilogy, Lord of the Rings, is quite unsatisfactory as a setting for fantasy adventure games. I wonder if Patrick disagrees, but I felt like this for a long time. I didn't like playing in the Star Wars universe. I didn't like playing in Lord of the Rings. Star Wars could be a little more tempting because there's more space to go after things. I
Yeah,
feel
but your dislike isn't because it's not fantastic. Your dislike
no,
is that all the best stuff has already been done.
that's usually been my argument.
Yeah.
If I'm going to play in Middle Earth, I mean, yeah, I want to find the ring. I want to fight Sauron. Um,
Middle Earth is very fantastic.
yes, it is.
I mean, you have. I think we have. We're a bit spoiled with a lot of the imagery and stuff we have these days,
Mm-hmm.
different from different media for fantastic things. So Middle Earth can seem tame in comparison.
Yeah, Gary
Right.
caught some. Him and Arneson caught some crap. Legion of Mist says Gary was mad about being sued, and people played MERP. Yeah, I'm sure he wasn't happy with that because they had Balrogs and hobbits in the original game, and
And
that had
talking trees.
and treants. They were called treants originally,
Yeah.
or no,
Yeah.
they were called ints. They were
Ents.
called ints in the very first printing. So that was not looked upon kindly by the Tolkien
Telepathic
estate.
elves.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I mean, there are all kinds of fantastic things in there.
I think.
The
Yeah,
rings of power, they're
yeah.
all the magic. I mean, it's not as flashy as some other fantasy settings, but it's certainly fantastic. House-sized spiders. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I get stunned when I think about playing in a setting that's based off a book. I get stunned by the main story. Tolkien, Dragonlance, um, any of those. If I were going to play in the Dresden world and stuff like that or Star Wars, I just tend to I shy away from it. Joe knows how many games have I run set in a world like that? Almost none. There's a
Right.
few. I did try Star Wars stint for a short bit, but it didn't last. They never last because I'm just like, it's not as good as the books, not as good as the movies. I mean, and that's probably not right. So if they're different,
But
if
it's
books are
to your
books,
taste. We did the same kind of thing with Forgotten Realms.
yeah.
It was hyper detailed,
Hmm.
and there was an expectation from some people that uh, if you didn't have if it wasn't canon, if you didn't run it canon, then it's not the Forgotten Realms. And what do you think you are doing? I mean, the Forgotten Realms, there's so many high level characters, and you walk in, and you're like, what am I supposed to be doing? Let them take care of it.
I didn't know this. Jack the 71st said White Dwarf had the rings of power from Tolkien, so statted out, I assume. And Arnman made the comment, it is easier for me to run a setting where the books are a series of adventures, not an epic storyline. Hyperborea, New Han, Sanctuary, Thieves World. Yeah, I agree. Those would be okay.
You can use some book derived paradigms for your games, but the idea of having story beats and pacing and a definite plot, hero and a hero, a villain, protagonist, antagonist, all that stuff gets flushed down the toilet as soon as dice hit the table.
Yeah. And Legion makes a good point about Star Wars. It's so huge in terms of time and space, you can make it your own easily. You can, and you said the same thing about Dragonlance. I'm not saying you can't, but me personally, I just get I'm like, eh. But I'm also tend to be an epic game kind of guy. I'm trying to break myself of that. I'm not running Hyperborea as an epic style game. It's definitely a whatever the players are doing is what we're doing. Let's see what happens. We'll talk about that, soon.
Right.
He talks about on the next page, 46 at the top. Imagine a game based on the exploits of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's magnificent Sherlock Holmes. Which of the participants wouldn't wish for the role of the great detective? What would the participants do if Holmes were slain or merely made a fool of? That's a classic question. If you bring in um, yes, thank you. Point Blank did talk about Star Wars. Yes, different eras. Yeah, agreed. And different places. Yeah,
Right. Right. The universe is a big place.
yeah.
Right. So with Sherlock Holmes, right, you can play in that that era. So you can have, was it? It was just before turn of the century, late 1800s, I believe is when is the setting. I think I could be wrong. It could be earlier. I don't think it's much earlier but you can play in that sort of setting, and you can have Holmes be floating around in the background, but you don't want to be Holmes because unless you're playing one DM and one player, and then that one player can be Holmes and has Watson as a sidekick and a few other minor characters and run like that. That might be fun, but that's not how D&D runs. You have a bunch of people, so playing Sherlock Holmes isn't an option.
Right.
Now you could do something like Lord of the Rings without Gandalf.
Yep.
Because Gandalf is a probably 2 or 3 standard deviations in power above everybody else there.
In the whole fellowship.
He's if you're
demigod,
he would be
almost
an NPC quest giver, and then every time something happens, you could bring him in to say, "Hey, blah 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 blah." Yep. And he would be a dramatic thing within your game, not a PC.
And this is alluded to.
Everybody else could be
alluded to in the Sherlock Holmes comment. Legion of Myth says this, which is interesting. That is why I never understood the old FASA Doctor Who. Who gets to play the Time Lord and who plays the Screaming Chicks? Or that's why I have a problem with Ars Magica, the way it's set up. The troop play.
The baseline game.
Who wants to play the wizard and then everybody else plays the grunts? Well, that sounds like fun.
There are people who like Doctor Who game. So unless at their table they have multiple Time Lords, which you do have episodes. I mean, there's the 5 Doctors. There's several of those within the whole Doctor Who universe where they have 2, 3, 4, 5. They might have even had all the Doctors somehow digitally put in after the fact, whatever. But those are special episodes. That's not how you play all the time. Because a Time Lord is a very powerful individual. You're not going to, you shouldn't, well, actually, the Tom Baker, one of his companions was a Time Lord a couple of times, at least 2 or 3 of them at different times were Time Lords. Can't remember their names, but yeah. But if you're going to have multiple players at your table, they've got to be somewhat similar.
Cal says, I always compare myself with Luke. Please give generously to our support fund for his mental health. How do I do that, Cal? I'm not disagreeing. I probably do.
The title of this article, I agree with.
Yeah.
Don't run, in my opinion, you don't run your game like it's a novel. Yep. But I also include movies in this as well, or comic.
And don't read your books like they're games.
Although they have them these days.
I know.
Books are one sort of media. I mean, movies in that same line of thinking. Yep. A game is a totally different animal. You can use books in different media for inspiration for game elements, but once dice hit the table, all that other crap you have to throw out the window.
Right.
Because you could roll a 1, Gandalf might roll a 1 on the saving throw and gets killed by a first level dude. I mean,
you know what, Joe? I think this series we're doing needs to become segments. We need to have a segment where we study the best of Dragon and just do a few articles each time. What do you think? I think you might have implied that last time. Instead of trying to do a whole show. What do you think?
Well, we are doing that, at least with this one.
Yeah. And just make it maybe a little bit smaller segment, and we'll do bits and pieces. Well, I mean, I keep having the plan we're going to get through the whole thing, but we're not, because we're so effusive with our discussion, and our people that listen are just so brilliant and make good comments. So I think we got to.
And he says, Jack the 71st says, and yet Barsoom is excellent for a setting if you make it your own. Yeah, there's not a lot of detail. You have some highlights, but you're not going to play you're not going to play John Carter, because John Carter or his son, because his son is almost as powerful, but John Carter, you're not going to be him. So you can have a Barsoom themed game where you're playing a Martian or you're playing a human who's not John Carter. I know old D&D had a booklet, Warriors of Mars, I think it was called.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. And they had a human person in that, and it wasn't anything like John Carter. Everything was fairly balanced. So, but you don't have to pay attention to the novels and go strictly with all of the lore in those novels. You just use it as a backdrop, as a theme.
Yeah, I think that's one of the arguments that's good. Like both Jack the 71st and Iron Man said, books that don't have as much detail can be plumbed or used as a setting when you have freedom within the world to do stuff. And both Legion and Point Blank said, like Star Wars, it's so expansive. It's a whole universe. Or even Aliens, that's so expansive. You could tell all sorts of tales. Though I do think the RPG for Alien, the RPG, the new one by, what's their name? The Forbidden Lands guys. Who the hell are they?
Yeah, I can't remember the name.
Daggone it.
I could not remember that company's name.
Yeah, anyway, I think they do too. There's only so many. They use the same alien over and over. The campaign's tough to imagine. The cinematic version is fun. Yeah, I was going to hit that one. That's a good one to think about.
We're having pretty good viewership here. All 20. I mean, we've hit as high as 20 here. Let me check over on Rumble. We haven't talked to the Rumble people, and I'm sorry.
I'm making comments, but I think what he's talking about is the views. I thought the views were. I just looked at YouTube and looked at how many views for the show. I think our view on the last couple of the Dragon magazines were kind of low. He might be right. Legion says their Dragon magazine at the Legion of Myth episodes are the least viewed, so we stopped doing it. And Free League is the name of that company. Thank you, Patrick. And Legion. Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we stop here? We'll pick back up somewhere in this next time. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Tell the folks
to
do the stuff.
Yes. How about you subscribe if you haven't already, even though we're doing a stupid Dragon Magazine episode here. Let me see what our views are on our videos, our lives. Let's see here. Oh yeah.
Dragon Magazine?
Yeah. We were getting consistently between 100 and up to and over 300. And last week's 76 views. So yeah, maybe we need to do something else. And if Flady says cover what you like, I'm on board regardless. All right, Flady. Appreciate that. Yeah, do the things. Subscribe, like, hit that bell notification, review us on audio when we put the audio out. But yeah, I guess these are not getting lots of views because the old Dragon magazines, like we've said, I've said, there's some of these articles aren't all that useful these days.
Legion calling me out, dude. He's just a faster typist than I am. I'm not scared of his comment about Manual of the Plains being greater than Planescape. I said, wrong. He and Jack the 71st are both wrong. No, not really. I'm becoming disillusioned with Planescape, but don't tell Max that. He says I need confession. I've lied. If I were Catholic, maybe I would. But I'm already forgiven because I'm a Protestant. I believe. Got faith in the Lord. So there you go.
All right. So we're getting out of this.
Yeah. And why don't we move on to our Hyperborea session 2? I think some things came up that were interesting.
Yes. So we're going to pretty much talk about our feelings about the old rules, which Hyperborea is an older is a AD&D clone, or is it a Beckme clone? Is it more a Beckme clone?
Hyperborea?
Yeah.
I'd have to leave the other experts. But Jack the 71st is a big Hyperborea guy. It feels
Mhm.
like me to be a bit somewhere in between
Yeah.
OD and D. It's got the single saving throw, which I am a fan of. I don't know. Maybe I'm not sure.
Well,
Yeah.
it has a more AD&D or old school feel,
Yep.
especially when it comes to hit points.
Yeah.
It has you get hit good once and you need to go home.
Yes, that was frustrating as crap. I mean, I do. Jack the 71st says, I think it is a bit AD&D and BX feel. Okay, okay. So I guess with the hit point thing, that was frustrating. Uh, it seems
Was it frustrating for you as a DM?
yes, because I'm like, crap. Now they have to go rest. That's just it's just not fun. And it got me thinking, is this what you want to do? I mean, there's a place where that, oh crap, I'm dead, or I took one hit, the paladin takes two hits, she's down. Your wife's character took a hit and was down in one shot, and it could have been
The
worse.
crabs.
Yeah, the crabs were terrifying. And I don't know if you look at I get that a 6-foot crab would actually be quite scary,
Mm-hmm.
but you're adventurers. That's the kind of stuff you do.
Yeah, it should be dangerous. There
It should,
wasn't. It was like they jumped out of nowhere.
yeah, I may have made, but they said they were down in the water just at the edge until you set in. I'm like, I rolled. They had a 4 and 6 chance to surprise you. It makes sense. They would be hard to recognize in murky water in a freaking cave.
Sure.
You
Bad
can't.
lighting.
Yeah. Oh, I got to comment this. Legion says Randy is having this slow epiphany about Planescape that I'm having about 80 and 2E. I feel his pain. He's not 100% wrong. But so it kind of it annoyed me. I thought that, and it was kind of, someone mentioned the 15-minute workday. I think Patrick did. That's not the term I would have used from 3rd edition, where you would fire your spells off and everybody go rest. But I do think it's very annoying. I think there has to be a fix. Hold on a second. Joe offered one off the cuff. He talked about giving a 20-point kicker. And I thought about it.
Hit points.
Yeah, so like adventurers get 20 points to start with, and then you add the dice. I know people here are going to hate it, but I would like to have, Joe and I both like a game where we can have more action, more combats, read more combats, and I would like it to last at the table and not be like, holy crap, we're down. I guess it's some of our preferences in 3rd edition, being able to fight for a little longer. I also thought if I did that, then I don't want like 3 hit point orcs and stuff to be so easy. I guess I would just, and if I added hit points to the monsters, adding hit points to you, that would be stupid, because then why would I give you hit points? But I could always, like Legion would answer with turning undead.
Not necessarily. It would depend on numbers.
Yes.
So if a 4 or 5 person party, first level, orcs, you're not necessarily going to fight a horde of orcs.
No.
Goblins or kobolds, you could give them a little bump. And
what about a 10-point?
The reason you give the PCs the bump at first level is, in my opinion, is because there's no healing to speak of.
Right.
You get a little scratch and you got to run home and cry to your mama because you can't even just camp out somewhere because you got random encounters.
The shaman could give you what, 2 hit points once a day per
a D4.
A D4. The paladin could heal 2
one
hit
person
points.
once a day.
Yeah, the paladin could heal 2 hit points for laying on hands. There was no cleric in the party, and that's okay, but I don't want it to be.
I don't think even having a cleric would have been that big of a deal.
Yeah, they'd only had at most 1 spell, if I even remember that. You were all first. You were all first level. For those that are listening, there will probably be. There would probably be a little bit of spoilers from the Late Trapper's Lament, which is an adventure I was running. Legion says,
What,
and Jack agrees, that is their OSR game of choice. I kind of like
yeah,
it too.
what we might have to change our mindset a little bit
Right.
and be hyper careful.
Right. It could be.
But I don't want to walk around with a 10-foot pole poking everything 10 feet away from me to see what's going to jump out.
Well, that's kind of the thing that I'm getting at is I don't think I can fully. I've not fully. It has not coalesced in my mind what kind of game that I'll really truly like. I want to find one. Dude, I'm 56. I'm kind of I'm kind of tired of buying games. And I don't mean that like I won't. I just mean I want to find something that we can dig our teeth into and really play somewhat like the old days. Somewhat, you know?
Mhm.
But I want to
Not
find some,
precisely, but somewhat. Yeah.
not precisely, but somewhat. And I want to play a game that I really, really like more things than dislike. Jack, you're not wrong. He says you guys have a 3-5 mentality. I think you are correct. Legion is throwing out Earth Dawn and Forbidden Lands, Palladium Fantasy. I don't know, dude. The shine is coming off Palladium in general for me. But maybe it's just I haven't put the time in. That's the other thing too. I want to take something that just blows me away, and then I'm not really digging into things. I didn't do that. I haven't read the DM's guide yet for Hyperborea all the way through, so I wanted to be more descriptive of the world that fit on it. Well, David Gwill makes a good point. He's saying find the game you like the most and twist it into the game you want. That's probably what I'm going to need to do.
Like I said, that's why I suggested just a little 20 hit point bump, and then we'll be fine.
Mark Markham has answered it. There is a hidden gem called Fatal. It shall remain hidden, Mark.
I don't remember completely about Fatal except that nobody should play it.
Yeah. Yeah. I have 5 Torches Deep point blank. Have we tried 5 Torches Deep? It has the grid of an OSR, but can be more durable. Yeah, maybe. That's kind of a 5e thing, right? I've got it somewhere. I didn't like how easy players were knocked to 0 because of low hit points. But I also found it. What do you think of I'm not fond of the XP chart. There's got to be a happy. So where I'm waffling at is this. Part of me likes the idea of differing experience points charts, right? For every class.
Every class.
But I find the size of the charts annoying. Once again, I'm 56. I want to get to level 20.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I'm with Joe. I want to play the whole damn game. And 280,000 experience points to go from level 10 to level 12, 10 to 11 doesn't interest me at all. Heck, trying to get to second level, I'm a little annoyed, but I know 2 sessions is not that bad.
We're a little antsy because we don't play as much as we would like.
Right.
If we played more, then we wouldn't. I think that the delay for higher level would be less irksome.
Yeah. Legion says 1 level per year. You should still be alive at age 76. Thanks for the vote of confidence.
This is also an old school mentality that it should take forever to get levels.
Yep.
And you should be happy. You should be happy to be first level for 10 years with 1 hit point and no clothes and a dagger. And that you should be happy because you still can role play. You can still get out there and adventure. And yes, you have to hide behind everything and never attack anything.
And ogres are still the most terrifying thing you can even look at.
Right. Run from everything. Pee your non-pants because you're naked. But really,
yes.
We've both played a lot. We've played the old school a lot, and grinding out. What, you got a dagger? Right. So use your fingernails. So right. So no, being the complete zero every time I make a character is annoying.
Yeah. CB Good to see you, bud. I haven't seen you comment in a while. CBK Ply. Why can't you just give more do? That is what I do. Give them more to do. I'm not sure what you. Oh,
More to do.
More
What
XP. I could.
More XP.
I thought about it. I thought it going.
You did.
Oh
You were generous.
I was
last
super
time.
generous.
Yeah, you
I'm
probably
thinking.
give us twice as much as what
I'm
we.
thinking about milestoning experience points, but not milestoning. I'm thinking I'm going to look to say, okay, like next time somebody's leveling in the party. I'm not saying everybody's going to level, but if we play another 5 or 6, if we can get a 5 or 6 hour session in, somebody's leveling. I'm going to pick an experience point amount and just give it every time. It's going to have nothing to do with anything. What do you think of that? That's my first solution. Because I don't like milestone. I don't fully like milestone because I don't think in old school games classes can level the same. But
What you're saying is this session has this XP reward.
Yes, period.
Okay, that's fine.
It's almost like milestone, but it does let everybody. So
that tells me you don't like adding things up, but you're a math guy. You should like adding.
Dude,
you should love counting. You're a math guy.
Dude, good point. The older dude, you want to hear a little secret? If I could do something else, I would quit teaching tomorrow. If I had some other thing that I thought could make 3/4 of the money that I make, I would quit teaching.
So Legion Myth says yes, and according to Gary, they should get killed by house cats. Yeah.
Yeah. David Gwill says, I don't like milestones. I don't really like variable XP tables. I prefer instead class-based awards. But you like everybody gaining at the same rate? Is that what you're saying, David Gwill? So it's 2. I just think the numbers need to be smaller. I'm tired of waiting. You know? I don't want 40.
At the same time, 2 or 3 sessions for a level is, depending on what level, early levels, fine. Mid to high levels, probably want to play a few more sessions than that, depending on length of session and what you get done.
Which, if you recall, we always joke about it the way my decimal system was back in the old days, high school days. I basically got tired. Well, honestly, it wasn't just me. It was kind of you guys too. Some of you guys didn't like tracking XP, but I was like, this is dumb. I'm just going to level you when I want to, and I'm going to give you a decimal point. So you would be 1.4 level, and I would give you 2 points, 0.3, 0.5, 0.8. And if you missed a session, you didn't get nothing. So we would have varying levels, but it did keep everybody at the same quote unquote level.
We really need to give Delvers a chance.
I agree. That's not bad.
So I think it's a singular table, but different classes have different rewards for what they do. Yeah. So it might take different people at the table varying amount of game time to gain levels because they have different paradigms. Maybe I haven't looked at it, but maybe the fighter it's killed enemies. Maybe the wizard is discovered spells or cast spells. That would be weird. But discovered spells, especially at first level, you can just cast one spell in the whole adventure, especially with Randy as a DM where you don't get to sleep.
Sleep for the week.
It's all one day.
Correct.
Legion. We went through 50 rooms, yeah, but it was all one day.
Legion of Myth. If an XP system doesn't use calculus, it's not a good XP system. If the players can understand it, they will exploit it. I agree. I know that doesn't sound right, but I do. And Flatey One Gaming, I believe that's Flatey. I want to retire and run a gaming tavern with a shooting range in the basement. Just waiting on my dude. Win. Jack the 71st, I would love for you to do that too. We'd have a good time. We need to play with Jack. We need to play with Bruce. I need to play with Legion again. I need to play with everybody. David Quill. Yeah. Okay, cool.
We should get better internet so we could host 20 people at one time.
Yes, have a massive.
That's not hard to manage. 20 people in one game.
And then we should play DCC where everybody gets 4 characters of 0 level. Point Blank suggests use Professor DM, Dungeon Master, Saga Point method. Overcome a challenge, 1 point. Accomplish a goal, 1 point. Once you're in 10, you level. Erase XP and start again. That's not the end of the world. Mercer Core. I give XP for contributing to the visual. Don't care about killing monsters. I gave Randy XP for his natural ones. Yeah, I rolled a lot of that crap. I rolled some
You get
stink.
negative experience points for rolling natural.
Dude, that first time I played with Legion of Myth, I just rolled poop after poop. It was funny. I kept like, crap. And one time I rolled a really high score. I said, all right. I said, dudes, I'm not cheating. And they're all like, we believe you. Because I'm saying, poop.
What is it? I heard Lovecraft.
Yep.
There's a Lovecraftian game. There's a system. It does more than Lovecraft, but
yeah,
whichever system it is, you level or you advance your skills by success and failure. So if you fail, and your failures actually give you more advancement, if I'm remembering correctly, than success.
I disagree with Legion. He says I forced him to nuke a settlement. I'm still on medication for that. I didn't force you to do nothing.
Stop being an emo. You did what you had to do. Pull up your britches.
He did, dude. He blew the crap out of
it. All right. So also you had a thing here about combat sequence. Side initiative. When you say side initiative, you mean players
D6
versus DM.
Yeah. I would love to get some of the people's comments here who've played Hyperborea. Apparently, the second edition of Hyperborea had a slightly different melee system. In the third edition, or combat initiative. So you roll initiative, both D6s. If the players win the initiative, they go. And they go in this order: melee, missile, magic, and movement. And there's something about move and then attack and stuff like that. But apparently, in second edition, Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Hyperborea, you had phases. So you might have melee and missile goes on phase 1. But if you
That's
cast
old D&D.
No, right, but here's how it would work. You win initiative, right, Joe? You guys win. So your melee and missilers go first. Then the bad guys, melee and missilers go. And then your wizards go, the casters go, then the other casters go.
But that's similar to older D&D. Because they had the same kind of phases. They had spells and missiles and melee, and broadly speaking. And when you roll your initiative, you do the similar thing. But yeah.
But so in the older D&D, everybody that was meleeing would go first on both sides. Is that how it worked? And everybody that was missiling would go on. So if you got initiative, your whole group didn't get to go. Your casters had to wait.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. That's a lot like old school D&D. You announce that you're going to cast a spell and hope that you roll high on initiative so that you can actually cast your spell. Otherwise, once you start casting, everybody knows you're casting, and then they can come and whoop you upside the head and interfere with your spell.
Yeah, Legion says 2E had a more defined phased system. It apparently confused people. 3E is really the same without confusion. So I'm saying it right then, Legion and Jack, and who played Hyperborea. David Guil said, did they alternate though, or did one side resolve? One side resolved. That's how I did it. I thought that's what 3E was telling me to do. I played it as if when the players get initiative, all of them go and do their thing, and then the monsters all go and do their things.
Yeah, but in phases.
Jack says, yeah, we didn't do it in phases. Are the phases still there in 3E? They just
you did. You said, hey, you guys go first, but the melee guys go. You had us do our different things in different. The spellcasters go.
But the bad guys. But we didn't have.
But then the bad guys did their things after.
After all of you went.
Yeah,
you guys went, but I don't understand the order. I don't. So the way we did it this past week was we rolled initiative. If you guys won, all of you went. Whether you cast a spell, moved an attack, full movement, whatever.
Yeah.
And then the other side went. But I think I'm wondering, is that the way it was supposed to be?
Maybe not, because if it's we go and then they go, we do all our things and then they go and do all their things, phasing it doesn't make any sense. Not really. So you may want to look at that a little closer and see if the phasing includes all the melee goes first,
And then
but
all the missiles.
in initiative order, and then all the missile, and then all the magic, and all the movement. It goes in those steps, but in initiative order. So whoever wins melee goes first, and then the second meleeers go next, and all like that.
Yeah, that's
So
what I thought it was. Halcyon H asked, speaking of initiative, did you guys like weapon speed? I don't recall weapon speed in that game. Was there a weapon speed we missed?
Or
Yeah.
I think he's talking. No, I think he's just talking about old school weapon speed.
Oh yeah, I didn't care for that.
Nah, not really.
But I am intrigued by the phased initiative. If I'm thinking of it right, if what you said is how it goes, then yes. So both sides melee missiles, melee and missile. Or what do you go? Melee, missile, missile. Yeah.
There. Am I remembering this correctly? Aren't there like different classes of weapons in
yes.
Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, Class 4?
Mm-hmm.
That has an impact on initiative.
My
dogs are barking like mad.
Yeah, go kill them. It can have an effect, but I don't think I thought I read that it's an optional rule to have it affect something. But yeah, I don't know. Bruce asked earlier, he said, I think Joe should show up to Big Geek Con as a Legionnaire. I put that photo in his Discord.
Discord.
Huh?
He said Discord.
Discord, that's a good one.
Let's see if I can find that.
Legion likes weapon speeding casting time because it adds more thought to the selection of weapons and spells. I think it's just tedious, but yes, I get it. I get why you would like it. It's fine. Each to their own. I don't want to be thinking too much in a scrum. I want it to be action, baby. But I can understand it. Mike could bring a little more balance to those crazy wizards destroying everything with their 2 hit points and 1,000 spells. Yeah, that was one of the things. I wish I'd known the setting better. Yes.
So to those who are listening, you need to head on over to YouTube after you've done listening, because there is a quite provocative picture of me as a Legionnaire. I guess my legs look is probably that good still because I walk all the time, but I'm not that slim anymore. I haven't been that slim in a long time.
Don't lie to him, Joe. You're skinny as a rail. Legion of Mist says that picture makes him feel weird. Oh, that's good. Oh, man. I think that's enough. That's enough to talk about that. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right.
I think we're good.
Okay.
So that being said,
yep,
because we are good
in the hood.
I do want to quickly bring up Big Geek Con in September, 4 Points Hotel in Saginaw. We are up to 15 tickets sold.
Yep.
So we're very close.
Yep.
We need 5 more to lock it in.
Yep.
So please help us out.
Yep. August 1 is looking like a firm deadline.
Yeah.
I think.
So,
well, no, it's maybe not. We can go a little later. I think I can make.
So,
I'm going to call her soon anyway. Call that lady, make sure we're still square.
Right. So yeah. So head on over to tabletop.events. Search for Big Geek Con and pick up a ticket. $30.
Yeah. For 2 days of gaming, baby.
2 days of gaming, September 23rd
and hanging out.
And 23rd.
And hanging out with me and Joe and all my cool dudes in Michigan, man. It's going to be a blast. We're going to have a blast. I'm going to be living there. I'm going to get me a hotel room. I'll be there, so it'll be fun. So.
All right. So anything else we want to talk about before we do
anything from Big Geek Emporium? I don't think so, unless you got an Emporium comment.
Not today.
Okay. This is episode 146, 150. I'm going to be giving away 2 free tickets to Big Geek Con, so listen up.
2 free tickets.
Free. That means you go for free, except for getting there.
Yeah,
paying for your hotel.
travel and accommodations are on you.
Oh,
Tickets are on us for those two. All right. If you'd like to support our show, please like, subscribe, and share us where you are listening or viewing the show. Check us out on social media. Because I'm not on Twitter as much as I should be, but
right.
I'm old dude and don't like social media all that much.
You're missing all the good arguments, man. They had some good arguments. Pundit got booted from Twitter.
Oh, that's not hard to do.
Nope.
If you'd like to support us, you can head on over to PayPal search for Biggest Geekus, Streamlabs, Biggest Geekus 1/tip. We're over on Ko-Fi and Patreon. You can head over to Big Geek Emporium and buy some goodness over there. If you have any questions, our email is thegeeks@biggestgeekuspodcast.com. And I think that's about it. Anything else you want to add, Mr. Randy?
I don't think so, dude. I'm feeling like we just had a great episode about Dragon magazines that no one cares about.
Right.
It's awesome.
I think we can put a pin in the Dragon magazines.
Boop. We're going to put a pin. We may come back to them. We'll see. But
what we could do is look at a Dragon magazine, an old one like one of these, and see if we can come up with a better article or a better topic. Maybe we can plumb these for topics that we can make modern.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's do that.
Dragon magazine made modern.
Yes.
Biggest Geekus.
Moderner and betterer.
Make it bigger and geekier.
Yes. All right. This is Joe.
And this is Randy.
And remember, if you can't be big like us, then be geeks like us.